you very much. Good evening. I didn't hear you all. 大家晚上好. It is a delight for me to be here with all of you. And I want to begin by acknowledging that we are standing here on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. I want to say to all of you, thank you. Thank you for being here tonight. And I'm sharing this stage with the two amazing MCs. You all know Miss Caitlin Lee, Miss Intercontinental Canada 2021. And for the first time at our fundraising gala, we have Shaun. And did you folks know that his latest food travel show just garnered over 20 million viewers in China, and he's a CCTV host? Let's give him a big round of applause. And so I share the stage with these two amazing MCs, and I want to say thank you to them. I want to acknowledge our head table, because you'll get to meet a few of them afterwards, but I want to acknowledge them because they truly are an inspiration, as are all of you. But I want to begin by acknowledging that we have former MPP, my good friend, Sue Wong. We have the former Deputy Mayor of Markham, former Regional Councillor, Jack Heath. And we also have, he's sitting with his friends tonight, our former City Councillor, Chin Lee. Also at our head table is Dr. Joseph Wong, founder and chair of Yihong Center, my mentor and good friend. We also have Greg Wong along with his wife Sandra. Greg is the founding chair of the Ontario Liberal Fund. And we have our three patron co-chairs, Winnie Liao and Hong Lee. Kai Wu and Sophia Sun. Thank you all for being here. We're going to introduce a lot more people later on, but I want to say to all of you that today there was some good news. The job numbers are up in September. We have 1 million more people working now than during the pandemic. And unemployment in this country is still at a low of 5.5%. So some good news, right? But I know times are tough, and our government knows that times are tough. And that is why we have worked hard, as Parliament has just resumed, to ensure that we are putting policies and programs in place to support Canadians. Most recently, our government met with the CEOs of grocery chains across the country, and we've negotiated with them. And in the coming weeks, you will hear good news on how we are going to stabilize grocery prices across this country. We are going to make sure that people can pay for the everyday essential foods that they need. We have worked hard to develop new programs like our grocery rebate, which is supporting the Canadians that need the most help. And out of our caucus meeting over the summer, we have decided that we are eliminating the GST on new rental buildings across this country, and that's good news. It's good news for Canadians who are working hard each and every day to try to save up for one of their biggest investments, which is their home. It's good news for hardworking young Canadians who have been paying the rent and watching their rent go up with very little hope of being able to afford a home of their own. And that is why through our budget we also introduced the first-time home buyers program. And to date, we just got good news that over 150,000 Canadians have already signed up for the first-time home buyers program. And let me tell you folks, I know that there is more work to be done. But we ought to look at how far we have come. The past few years have been difficult. They have not been easy. And within communities across this country, we have seen division. During the pandemic, we saw how anti-Black systemic racism became an issue that was fought out on the streets and people protesting. We continue to see the unmarked graves at former residential school sites being discovered, unveiling a dark chapter of Canada's history. And very unfortunately, over the past 3 years, we have seen a dramatic rise in anti-Asian hate. Folks, let me tell you a bit about the motion that I moved, number 63 in the Parliament over the past 2 years. This motion, M63 on anti-Asian racism, passed unanimously in the House of Commons last June. And this motion looked at the history of Chinese and other Asian communities in this country, and we stood up to say that hatred of any kind is not acceptable. This past July 1st, we celebrated a momentous occasion, as we always do, Canada's 156th birthday. But to so many Canadians in the Chinese community, Canada Day is not just a day of celebration. It is known as Humiliation Day, a day on which Canada enacted the Chinese Exclusion Act in 1923, July 1st. And this year we marked 100 years since that act was enacted. So in Parliament, I spoke about this history. I spoke about the contributions the early Chinese who came here in the late 1700s, and many of whom came between 1881 and 1884, and in fact there were 17,000 railroad workers that came to Canada to help connect this country. Yet after their contributions to build this nation, they were treated as outsiders. They were told that they did not belong. They were not able to live in certain places, to hold certain jobs, and they were certainly not allowed to run for public office. And through the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1923, a generation of Chinese members of the Canadian community were denied their opportunity to equal rights and treatment. They were unable to reunite with their families, and many of them lost hope. And it was 1947 when, thankfully, stemming from Canada's willingness and desire to be part of the United Nations Declaration for Human Rights after World War II, that the Chinese Exclusion Act was finally repealed. And why do I bring up this history? Because like so many histories of people who are different in this country, the Chinese community has come a long way. But we have experienced now over the pandemic a newfound hate. And that is why I moved my motion. And with your support, that motion passed unanimously in the House, and I look forward to continuing to work together with all of you to fight against hatred, to build a better country, so that we can all stand proud as Canadians in this beautiful land we call home. And so whether it is fighting anti-Asian hate, whether it is creating jobs and more opportunities, at the center of that important work is all of you. And at the center of my work is each and every one of you. David, you mentioned the amazing election results, the 67%. I'm very proud of the result that we achieved here in Scarborough North. But I don't take credit for it. I give that credit to all of you. It's your consistent support, the fact that you are here on a long weekend to celebrate with all of us this great occasion that we can be here together as a community and to support our next step, which is the re-election that Winnie asked me, when's the next election? I said, Winnie, I have no idea. But I do know that minority governments in Canadian history have lasted no longer than 3 years. So we are looking at potentially an election next year and potentially an election in 2025. But whatever the case may be, I know that we will be ready. We will be ready because of your continuous support, because of the passion, because of the encouragement that you continue to give us. So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I want to thank you for the work that you are doing. And I want to challenge all of you to stand up and to participate and to be involved. I think about the great campaign Dr. Wong and the Anti-Asian Racism Coalition did during the pandemic. And I know how important it is that we, not just as politicians, stand up when times are tough, but that we as a community stand up. One of the moments I remember when I was meeting with Canadians across the country for my motion, M63, was being in Montreal, Chinatown, one of the most beautiful and historic communities that we have. Chinatowns are the places where the early Chinese looked for safety, looked for opportunity, where they began their small businesses, their restaurants and laundromats, and they built up. They built up for future generations and they paved the way for all of us. And I walked into Chinatown in Montreal and shopkeepers told me that the year before, someone had sprayed racist graffiti on the walls of one of the stores. And I asked them, what did you do? Did you report it to the police? And they said, why? They won't do anything. And to hear that, it was heartbreaking, but at the same time, it validated for me the work that we need to do together. When we are attacked, when things are wrong, we must stand up and we must fight. And we must make sure that our voices are heard. Tonight you're here and your voices are heard and you give me the strength and encouragement to do this job each and every day. So I want to say to you, thank you for your generosity. Thank you for your incredible support. And we will be bringing up and recognizing the amazing co-chairs, including our patrons, who have been able to support tonight and help us achieve the tremendous results that we continue to achieve. So thank you very much. Thank you to our MCs, our amazing performers, and you haven't met all of them yet, there's more to come. And I also want to acknowledge Alex, Cho, and the entire team at Casa de Luz. They do a great program. We're very proud of the work they do here at Casa de Luz. Thank you so much. 谢谢大家，多谢大家。Thank you. Next time.
Aside from everyone on the stage, I would also like to thank everyone else in the community and our business leaders for their support for this evening.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.